Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be grading every transfer window under the Lord and Saviour Bill Foley. Today I'm joined by Greg, also known as the AFC fan page. How are you doing, Greg?
I'm good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
That's all right. You lot probably all follow him on Instagram and Twitter, but check out his new TikTok and the website. You've been writing some good stuff. You did the piece on grading every transfer under Bill Foley. So if you enjoyed this video, go and check that out. That's his handle there. I'm sure you can find all the links down in the description as well, if that's easier for you lot. And if you can, just drop me a sub, because that would really help me out. But I reckon let's just get straight into it. I've also got this useful little tier list here if we need to use it. All the windows down there at the bottom. But let's start with, we'll start from the beginning. January 2023. Bill Foley just taken us over in December. Some big transfers in here, I think. Any ones that particularly stand out to you?
I mean, obviously, it was pretty much all incomings that window, especially it was needed. We're also going through a bit of a lull just after coming back from the 2022 World Cup. I mean, obviously, Zaba, getting him in on deadline day, that window, that's the standout signing. And Antoine as well, for just 10 million. I mean, look at it now. That's an unbelievable bit of business. You think if we want to sell him this summer, we're going to get 7-8 times what we paid for him. And that's just unbelievable business. You've got Dango in there as well, who, if you'd asked me a month ago, I would have gone, oh, I don't know. But when you look at it back now, and we've got the money we have for him, it looks even better business to double that money. Probably the one that is the bit of the anomaly, I guess, because it was a good window. Probably Hamid Traore, 25 million on him. I think he played 11 Premier League games for us, 1 assist, which was at Anfield this season. And then we've sold him, loan with an obligation for 7 million euros. So that's definitely the worst of it. We also had Dan Randolph and Matty Vigna come in as well. So Dan Randolph just there for the vibes, nothing else really. And Matty Vigna was a solid left back on loan. I think he was slightly overrated in hindsight. At the time when he went back to Roma, people were like, "Oh, we need him back." I wasn't so sure, but for that half season, he was definitely a good left back, especially with Jordan Zamora basically not playing after January because he was off to Udinese.
Yeah, I'd say I'm just looking at this window now, and I'd almost say in the long term it looks really good. You know, we've turned a £30 million profit on Zabani, 20 million on Ouattara. Semenyo's obviously, we haven't sold him yet, but he's at least times his value by 5. But in the short term, I'm not sure how much it actually was effective. I'd say, as you say, Matty Vigna is probably the biggest one there for that season. He had quite an impact. But considering this season, I think we were flirting with relegation for quite a few months. January was the big period where we needed to potentially bring in some people. Out of these signings, I'd say Matty Vigna is the only one that had any real impact on us staying up that season. I don't know if you'd agree.
Dango did a bit. Obviously, he had the Spurs moment. Whether you could argue we were pretty much safe by that point. Obviously, Dango played a lot more than the others did, other than Matty Vigna. Obviously, Semenyo at that point was a backup striker, and that just wasn't working out at all.
No, he didn't look good at all that season. I didn't think.
Definitely not. Zaba injury prone for the first few months, and then came on as a sub a couple of times, and only started once we were already safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do, and obviously Hamid. Other than that incredible debut at Brighton, where he sold us all a dream, was disappointing and injury prone after that. So I definitely agree. When you think about it in the context of that window for that time, it was disappointing. But when you take yourself out of it and you look at it a couple of years later, it looks like a really good window. But for the time, it probably didn't pan out as good as we wanted it to.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we can criticise the outgoings for there not really being any big ones, because we needed to bring players in at this point. Should we look at where we're going to rank it? Because I mean, it is difficult, because like I say, the short term is not amazing, but long term, incredible. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking if we're going to definitely include the long term gains, it's got to be like an A-, because you can't ignore the Zaba, the Semenyo, the money we got for Dango. As we say, if those signings had hit at the time, it'd be a definite A plus. But I think it's better than a B plus just because of the long term game. So I'd go for A minus personally.
January 2023. We'll put it in A minus for now. There's a little advert there. Apparently, I'm giving them free advertising. It's all right. We'll move on from that, and we'll move on to the summer. Sort of similar to January in terms of bringing in a lot of names and not a lot of outgoings. Big names. I mean, this one similar levels to the January, I'd say. Milos Kerkez, obviously we all know about him. Justin Kluivert, another big one, and Tyler Adams, probably one that's succeeded more in the last 6 to 12 months. Are there any others in here that you want to talk about?
Probably the weirdest one of that window was signing Roman Fev for about 15 million just to please Lorient, and then call him back 6 months later, and he's played 5 league games and is now refusing to leave.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He's
very odd signing.
Not even gone back out on loan this season, but yeah, I mean, the other one in there that you could argue hasn't been as successful as we'd think is Alex Scott for 25 million.
Yeah, I think when we bought Alex Scott, the hype was crazy. I mean, I was absolutely buzzing. And then it was like sort of immediately taken away by the fact that when they signed him, they announced that he was going to be out for quite a few months, which was a big blow. And then since he's back, he's been injury prone, which is a shame. It's not always his fault, but that is the case. And then he's never hit it consistently, never hit the levels that we know he can, because he shows it in glimpses. Like Spurs away the other week, he was outstanding, but he hasn't proved it every time, which isn't his fault because he plays in a lot of positions. He's never nailed down a position, either because of injuries or because of the players ahead of him. But yeah, for 25 million, you want more. But also, I don't think his value has decreased a lot. I think there's still a player in there that if we wanted to get rid of him, a club would happily spend 25 million on. So it's not the worst signing in the world, but it's definitely not worked out how we wanted it to.
Yeah, and I mean, he shows sparks of potential. He just hasn't sort of had a long period of time where he's been a starter in the team and had serious impact on the team. But I mean, he could definitely come good for us in a couple of years. If we wanted to sell him at any point, we could easily recoup 15 million for that. And I mean, yeah, looking at this window as a whole, Kerkez, pretty quick impact and obviously left for a lot of money. Kluivert, now dead set starter for us. Tyler Adams, I mean, you can't say he's a dead set starter with Cook and Christie, but he's good enough to be. And I think he's going to be a really big part of us in the future. I think I would have some complaints about outgoings, particularly Jeff Lerma leaving on a free. Yeah. I mean, we all wanted him to stay so much. He was literally singing his name for the last 6 games. That's not great business. Would you even say losing Zamora on a free? Could you criticize that?
Well, I was going to say that window. So we bought in Kerkez, but you still felt like we were a left back short. It was kind of helped by the fact that Andoni kind of moved Lloyd Kelly from centre back to left back, so that kind of was a softened blow. But obviously, as you say, Jeff leaving, and we signed Tyler Adams as his replacement. But that year was the year that Tyler Adams played about 3 games. So if we'd done this video a year ago, and we were ranking it, we'd be saying all sorts about Tyler being injured and stuff. And now we never really replaced Jeff. But obviously, looking back at it now, where Tyler Adams is one of our most important players, I think Tyler's an upgrade on Jeff personally. But obviously, he cost 25 million, and letting Jeff go for free, maybe not the best business when we bought him for 20 million, and we probably could have got more money.
Well, exactly. And you said to me before this, we spent 100 whatever odd million in this window and didn't bring in any revenue other than Ben Pearson for about £1 million.
Ben Pearson, yeah, exactly. I think that is the case on most of these rankings, most of these windows. That is going to be the case. We have been pretty bad at selling dead wood. I mean, we loaned out a lot of players this window. But we sold Ben Pearson, we sold Sariki Dembele, and everyone else went for free. So it's definitely been a problem with recent, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, then I'd say Kerkez, Clive, and Adams definitely great signings. Scott not yet come great, especially with the price tag. Romain Fevre what is going on there. And then even Max Aarons for like 7 odd million never really kicked on. And no one really going out for any money. And those 2 free transfers that we're not big fans of. But again, we'll look at the tier list, and I'm not sure what you think.
It's definitely, it's not an A for me. I don't think you can give it an A just because I think some of those players lost value, like Scott and Bev and all that. It wasn't definitely, and you know, Tyler Adams' injury problems, you can't ignore them. It definitely wasn't a perfect window. I don't know if B- is a bit harsh when you bought someone like Tyler Adams, who, as I say, is so important to us now. I mean, if are we including Luis Sinisterra in this window? Because
I would say include him as a loan because the full fee wasn't a thing. So, I mean, the loan didn't.
He was injured and then played a few good games, but that's fine, I guess.
I think D+ maybe.
Okay, yeah, that's probably fair.
Because if you look at it, you can't deny the fact that Kirkes immediately became a really important player for us and then left for a lot of money.
Yeah.
Cliver pretty quickly cemented himself and is still here as a very important player. I think the thing that's holding, if Adams is as good as he is now and had been for the last year, I think we could say chuck him in there. But I just think the fact that it took him so long to get cemented, Alex Scott is still struggling to get there, and then a couple of difficult transfers along with a couple of bad free transfers. I don't think that can constitute an A. But I think B- would be harsh considering Kirkes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nice. Well, then we move on to January 2024. Not a lot happened in this window.
No, NSU now and Callum McKenna. I don't even know if we include Callum McKenna, but he's about 17 and he's now our third choice goalkeeper. He costs 300 grand, which is fine, I guess. And then obviously NS came in loan with an obligation for 14 million. He was an upgrade on Kiefer Moore because Kiefer Moore was our backup striker for 6 months under Andoni Iraola, and Kiefer Moore is not an Andoni Iraola player. He'll never be an Andoni Iraola player, or really good enough for the Premier League. So it was an absolute imperative that we bought in a striker. Kind of surprising that it took until deadline day to do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then I thought for those first few months, NSU now looked the part. He looked really good. Last year, I don't think that was the case, and then he's had this ACL injury. But whether he comes back in as backup over Krupu remains to be seen. For 14 million, it's not the worst deal ever. You'll see worse business, but it's nothing to sing and dance about either.
I mean, what have we got out of him for 14 million? Like, he gave Solanke a bit of rest. He scored a free kick against West Ham. Like, he hasn't really had a major impact. I mean, credit to the board for going out and spending a fair chunk of money on a backup striker when we did need one, because they could have easily gone, oh, well, Solanke's really good and we have Kiefer Moore. Yeah. But I mean, at least we got that done. But it's not a particularly good transfer, that one. Yeah. I've noted we also recalled Fevre from his loan, and I don't know, he didn't play much.
No, he played 5 times off the bench. That was it.
Yeah, recalled Mark Travers as well, but I don't know, that wasn't particularly necessary. And then a load of loans out. To be fair, Brooksy's loan to Saints, I think, played a part in like how good he has been at the start of this season. Like, sort of got him kicking on again. But
it's probably another one. Again, we've loaned out everyone: Traore, Brooks, Rothwell, Moore, Marcondes, and Kilkenny, and no money has come in. Definitely at that point, it was just like we just cannot shift these Deadwood off our books permanently. I mean, it was good to have them off the wage book at all, but at that point, you're thinking, will we ever be able to get money for these players? It was a bit concerning. And obviously, the Brooks Fevre swap, whatever, good for Brooks. Not the best for us, really.
Yeah, exactly. So let me just flick it over to the tier list again. I mean, I think it's B- at the most. Would you agree?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it above that. Definitely not. If we're thinking of all the windows we had, if we're going to give anything a C+, it would be that. It wasn't like we needed a lot more. And so I don't remember thinking back at the time, yeah, right, we need to make loads of signings now. But when the one signing you do make doesn't really come to fruition and you don't sell anyone, you don't bring a lot in, it could be a C plus. Sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, this was 23-24, so we weren't thriving. We were okay in sort of mid to lower table. I think a B has to be means good. It's been a good win.
It should be. Yeah,
and I don't think this a C plus.
It happened, and yeah, that was it really.
Yeah, I mean, you could literally forget about this, and it would change nothing of the trajectory of our club.
Yeah.
That window could not have happened. We would have made no incomes outgoings, and we would still be here. So
exactly,
I think that's a fair assumption. We just did January 24, so we're on summer 2024. Sorry. Big window. Evan Nilsson, £40 million to replace Solanke, in fairness, but an important transfer nonetheless. Dean Howson for 12 rising to 15, I believe. Obviously, we all know what happened there. Yeah. An unbelievable player. Then a few difficult ones. Luis Sinisterra for 20 million, which we're counting as this summer because it happened in February. So I'm pretty sure in the books it goes down as happening in this summer.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So we'll put that in there, which I think we can all agree wasn't spectacular. Araujo, it weren't a load of money, but
not great.
Done great. Kepa on loan, I like a lot. And then Alex Poulsen, Daniel Jefferson, not massive things. What are your thoughts on this window?
I mean, I did not expect Dom Solanke to be sold that window. That's the start. Going into the summer, maybe I'm naive, but I thought
no, I was with you.
That happening. And then obviously he did go, and you think, oh my word, how are we going to replace this bloke? And 10 out of 10 from the recruitment team, to be honest.
Yeah,
couldn't have asked for much more. 65 million for Dom, 40 million forever. So, in terms of money, we're doing good. And then Ever has been outstanding as that Dom replacement. Everything you could want. Obviously, Dino, it just speaks for itself. Came here to be third choice centre back, stepped up when needed, and then the whole world wanted him. Probably one of the best, if not the best, young centre backs in the whole world, and he played for Bournemouth for just 12 million. Incredible business. That is the benchmark for all future business that we do. Araujo, I don't like. A good bloke, not a very good footballer. Kepa was very solid. Very good keeper. Really enjoyed having him. Shame that he didn't stay permanently. And as you said, Jebo and Poulsen, just cheap young deals. So,
yeah. I mean, I think if you look at this window, the whole Evan Nilsson-Solanke trade, all in all considered that we didn't want to lose Solanke, whatever it happened, we went and got a replacement. I think in my head, that's sort of neutral. Like, I wouldn't say that puts any positive or negatives towards the window because I think we all would have liked to keep Solanke, but we made profit and we brought in a great replacement. Yeah. So I wouldn't have any complaints about that, nor major praises overall. The Dean Howson is just absolutely unbelievable. I have a problem with the Luis Sinisterra 20 million. I also have a problem with Lloyd Kelly leaving on a free.
I was going to say, I think my main concern of that window is probably the fact we were definitely a left back short. If Milos Kerkez had got injured, we would have been screwed in that position. Thankfully, he was ever fit, I think, pretty much literally the whole season. But we were definitely a left back short. So yeah, Lloyd going when I think I definitely wanted to keep him, especially for free. When we bought him, it felt like, we signed this guy for 12 million, but we're going to sell him for a lot more than that one day. So it was disappointing to see him leave for free. And obviously, as you said, the Cine deal never quite worked out. Obviously, he's had some good moments. We can look back on it and say, yeah, this bloke had some iconic moments for the club, but iconic moments aren't worth 20 million. No. And we've lost 10 million on him if he does indeed join Cruzeiro for 10 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a weird one because we were just like throwing money at Leeds, and for a good while it didn't seem like any of these were coming good. Thankfully, Tyler has now. I am a really, really big fan of the Kepa deal because Neto was poor in 23-24.
He was.
A keeper is very important. Kepa came in and just he looked very, very solid. And did you want us to sign him on a permanent?
I definitely wanted us to sign him on a permanent. I like Petrovich, don't get me wrong, but obviously 5 million for Kepa seemed like nothing. Obviously, we don't know how much he actually wanted on wages. I'm sure it was astronomical, but I definitely wanted him. I think the ball at his feet, he's probably the best I've seen in the Bournemouth shirt. He's so calm, made some big saves, and he really bought into the club in a way that I did not expect him to, and it was really good to see.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. He had a really good attitude, a nice connection with the fans, and yeah, for a player that was the world's most expensive goalkeeper, that was really nice to see. I don't know if it had anything to do with Spanish connection to Iraola, but let's move to the tier list. We brought in a keeper. We brought in Dean Howson, which just does not need any explanation. We brought in a Solanke replacement. Lost Kelly on a free. Spent 20 million on Sinistera. All in all, definitely a good window. I mean, I'm flirting between B+ and A-, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think probably in all terms of hindsight, the January 2023 one was probably better than that. But I do think that this window is better than the summer 23 one, especially the way that we managed to replace Dom. When if we'd got that wrong, it would have been tears.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you could look at it and say, oh, we lost Dom Solanke, so that's bad. But I think you'd look at it and say, we were going to lose Solanke at some point. We got £65 million for him and obviously replaced well. I mean, I'm inclined to put it in A- behind January 2023. But if you feel particularly strongly about it being a B+.
No, I would definitely, I wouldn't, I think it's better than a B. I think it was a very good window, all things considered, especially Dino.
Yeah, I mean, bringing in Dean Howson, getting an extraordinary season out of him, which certainly helped us to pushing for Europe, and taking £35 million profit is, I mean, that alone means I don't think it can be a B. But yeah, at the moment, January 2023 is our top window, we're thinking.
Yeah.
Nice. And I always just get confused with the dates when I haven't looked. Right. We're on to January 25, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. Making good time as well. Let me scroll down my notes. Okay, so not another not a particularly busy window. Eli Junior Krupi from Lorient, who for about £12 got loaned back to him for the remainder of the season. Julio Soler, £7 million, which we'll talk about that now. Me and you had a bit of discussion over it because you ranked him quite highly in your ranking transfers.
I think I in reflection, I said it to someone else. I probably did rank them too high. I think I'm just thinking like in terms of the fee we paid for them and then their potential to where they can get to.
Yeah,
the fee we paid is very low, and I really like Soler especially as a squad player, as a backup left back, is really good. For 7 million, you're not going to find many better squad players, especially players who can definitely push on for more. I don't know when he'll push on for more because at the moment he's got Truefair ahead of him and he's not getting in over Truefair.
Yeah.
But he's been called up to the Argentina national squad for the first time.
Yeah.
He's got a big future ahead of him, and I just think for 7 million, it's a really good bit of business. And I like what we've seen so far. We haven't seen much, but I do like what we've seen so far from him.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking long term, 7 million isn't a lot of money, but it's a sizable fee for someone who hasn't looked like they're at a Premier League level quite yet. He was exciting against Brentford in the Cup, but I still think he looked raw, if that's a good way to put it. But I mean, he's young; he'll probably come good. What I said to you was, if he was brought in this January in hopes that he was going to provide some sort of rest to Kirkes and play some sort of minutes, then that was a failure of a transfer to an extent. But I think you got to look at that in the long term. Other transfers, Akimboni for not much of a fee, and we'll see what comes of him. I don't think that's one that can be judged yet. Interestingly, we recalled Dan Jefferson from his loan because Evan Nilsson and Unal were injured. Now, would you say, in hindsight, it didn't really affect us, but at the time, would you say that was not enough?
It was very surprising to me that we didn't sign a striker. Obviously, in the end, it worked out just about okay as Dango stepped up front and did better than anyone could have imagined, really. But yeah, to not sign a striker and have Daniel Jefferson as your backup option is interesting for a side that are pushing for Europe.
Yeah.
Jefferson was okay. He wasn't terrible in his minutes. He did all right. He ran around, did what he had to do. But bringing in Krupi and then just loaning him out to Lorient as your only striker was an interesting choice. I'm not sure about Krupi for what we've seen so far. Again, his potential is sure to be amazing, and he's a very good technical player. But I don't see him as a striker for a Premier League team at this moment because he's not physical enough.
Is he not a winger more than anything potentially?
I think he will be in the future, but I think where he's played for Lorient has just been as a striker, and at the moment he is our backup striker because we don't have anyone else.
But I think a player that did well in Ligue 2 as a striker, I think comes to us in the Prem and potentially puts those talents to use out wide.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the two big deals from this window, Krupi and Soler, we are yet to see how much success they have. Just a couple other things. Billing went on loan to Napoli, did well, and we've now managed to get him off on a permanent for like a few million quid. Max Aaron's loan to Valencia, Mark Travers loan to Borough. I mean, Travers did well at Borough and then has got a permanent move himself, but they're all just minor details. All in all, a couple of signings for the future. I do have a problem with us bringing Dan Jefferson as the striker when we had to like. Do you think we should have brought in, I don't know, a better striker on loan or even like a permanent signing to make up for Evan Nilsson and Unal being injured?
It's a great question, isn't it? Because that was what everyone wanted, and that's what everyone was saying at the end of the season. If we'd gone in that January window, added a couple of bodies, could we have sustained that European push? But obviously, a lot of players came back, and LSU now is going to come back. They signed Krupi, so Krupi was always going to come back. Evan Nilsson going to come back. Jefferson still exists, or whatever. So if you sign all these players, what are you going to do with them? That's the problem, because obviously in January we had no players, but these players do come back. You can't just have everyone on your wage book. So especially in terms of PSR and everything, it was probably a very difficult one to balance. I assume they felt they couldn't afford a striker at a cost that would be worth it. So they just left it. That's all I can assume, really.
Okay, so then we don't really have a problem with not bringing in a striker. If we go to the tier list, essentially two signings for the future, which look like they hopefully will come good. And then, there's the whole striker thing. I mean, we've got an empty spot in B-. I don't know if
it flutters somewhere between C+ and B-. I'm not quite sure where you think it should fall.
I mean, like you say, how much could we have gone and spent? Firstly with PSR, and secondly with, at this point, our squad was quite inflated. We sort of had a massive injury crisis, but when everyone's fit, like, we do have a lot of bodies. We had at some point like 6 players who were sort of wing/attacking midfielder options. So I don't think we could have brought anyone in there. And like we say, Krupi and Soler will hopefully come good. I think I would put it in B-.
Yeah, I think it was better than 24 because at least we can say Krupi and Soler and maybe even Akimboni, who knows, probably will come good, or we'll probably at least be able to sell them for profit. Whereas that January 24, all we got was Unal, and we're definitely not making any money off it. So
Yeah, I mean, had we completely collapsed with no
Mm.
striker, potentially we can argue that. But Dango stepped up, and at the end of the day, it was probably not Iraola's choice, but the board's choice to
Mm.
rely on that, and it paid off.
Mm.
So, I mean, fair play to them. And we can move on to our final window, the one that is just past, the one that we are making this video just after. And I think this might be the hardest one to think about, because there's so many outgoings and potential negatives. But I mean, we brought so many players in. Just quickly, incomings: Diakite 35 million, Petrovic 25 million, Truffert about 14. I've put here. Ben Doak 25 million. I mean, Adley 25 million. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the Serbian bloke's name, but 13 million. Alex Jimenez, loan with obligation potentially if he makes the starts. That's a lot of money spent on every single one of those players. Has potential to be a 10 out of 10 signing. But at the same time, Zabani went for 57 million, Howson for 50 million, Kirkus 40 million, Atara for 42.5 million. I mean, there's more. Hamatraore obligation for 7 million, Billing for 5, Travis for 4, Sinistera, I believe it's an obligation.
Yeah.
So that can be about £10 million, I believe. It's a big window. I haven't even mentioned loans and free transfers.
You could include Jadon Anthony in that as well. I think if you give the money that we got for Burnley getting promoted, that would be 8 million.
Yeah, I forgot to mention him in the other one because I had it down as the other window. But yeah, you're right. We got £8 million because Burnley got promoted. I mean, it's just hard to go through. To be like, there's just so much. So we got over £200 million in from sales, right?
Yeah.
And we spent well under that.
Yeah, I've got it as it's 100. This is all transfer market, so it could be wrong. I've got 138 million spent and 238 million in, which obviously gives us a rough profit of 100 if you really count those transfer market values, which sometimes are a bit off, but
yeah,
so it's a lot of profit, and we've still got a lot of quality. But obviously, it's so early days, isn't it? It's really hard to judge this one. If we come back to this in like 5 months or a year, the grading could be so different to whatever we give it now.
Yeah, I mean, the way to look at it is we've made 100 odd million profit, as you say, and I'd say we replaced every single player that went out well, and at least with the potential to reach their predecessors' level, at least.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, we sold Zabani, House and Kirkes and Atara as like the main starters. Do you have a problem with any of those sales?
Not with the sales. Obviously, in an ideal world, you would have wanted more than Dino's release clause because we could have easily got it. But maybe you don't sign Dino without that release clause being in there, obviously. Zaba, again, you probably do want a bit more money, but when PSG come knocking, we can't stand in his way. And in the pre-season games, he didn't look like his head was all there. So you'd rather you'd get the 57 million, which is still a lot of money. You get the 57 million in, and then you're able to bring in the replacement. Again, Kirkes, I mean, it's hard to get a lot of money for left backs, I think, in this day and age, or fullbacks in general. They're not the most valuable position, but 40 million is still a lot of money. It's a lot more than what we paid for him. To replace him with Truffert, who obviously it's only been 3 games, but looks every bit the player that Kirkes is, it seems like outstanding business to me.
Atara?
I couldn't believe we got that much money for him, to be honest. I have no problem with selling a player who sounds like he didn't even want to be here. Sounds like he thought that Andoni didn't trust him. Maybe he wanted to start more games, and he's going to do that at Brentford. But I think it's one of those where even if he succeeds at Brentford, no one's going to look at it and go, "Oh, Bournemouth didn't get enough money for him." We got 42.5 million for him. That is, for me, probably the best bit of business of the summer. To be honest, getting that much money for him, or in terms of our summer,
Yeah.
The whole summer, getting that much money for him, for a squad player, and then that enabled us to bring in 2 wingers. You know, who knows how they'll do, but I love that business for us, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you can look at it like Dango, a categorically good sale. Howson, I don't have any qualms with, because, like you say, I think that release clause is the reason we signed him. We didn't know it was going to be anywhere near this good. Like, there's just no. I don't think you have any complaints about that. Kirkers has wanted to go for at least a year, so I think we sort of had to let him. And yeah, 40 million's a little bit low, but like you say, for a left back, yeah, Zabani is probably the toughest one to take. I think Howson and Kirkers for me were going to go.
Yeah, 100%.
Barney I thought was going to stay. So that's my first issue. Like, even letting him go full stop is not ideal. But even the fee, like you say, but we're not to sound negative, but we're Bournemouth. Like, we're not. We can't ask for. You say that, but then Brighton asked for like £100 million for Belabor.
I guess the club have been very intent on saying that if a player does not want to be here, they will be sold. Whether that will make us pushovers in the future, who knows? But then maybe they're thinking, if we want the type of player like Zaba to come, then we can't just stand in their way when they go, because those kind of players might not want to join if they don't think they can use it as a stepping stone. Obviously, hopefully one day we won't just be a stepping stone. We'll evolve enough that we can push for a European competition or whatever, and maybe players will stay around for a bit longer. But you kind of just have to accept that's where we are at the moment. That's the transition we're in. That's the phase we're in. We can have these players like Zaba, like Dino, like Milos. We can enjoy them while we're here. They're here, but they do go, and then we get a lot of money for them, and then the cycle continues. That's just where we are at the moment, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we recruited in every position that we needed. We got a good backup right back now in Jimenez. We got our Zabani replacement. I think you'd say Diakite is.
Yeah.
We got this backup centre backs that Senesi can now essentially be the Howson replacement, which I don't have a problem with at all. Personally, I think he's good
as
enough.
long as Senesi signs a new deal. He needs to sign a new deal.
Yeah, true. You've got Truffert as your Kirkos replacement. Don't think anyone has any problems with that. I think Petrovic is a really good pickup and has the potential to be an upgrade on Kepa, especially he's quite. I think he's 25. Like, he's quite young, isn't he?
Yeah.
So arguably, long-term thinking, that might be a better deal than Kepa. And then the two wingers, Doak and Adley, are essentially Dango replacements. And every single player on this list has potential to do exceptionally. They're all young. They've all shown potential. And I just think we're in a really, really good place for the future. It's just so hard to rank because obviously we lost 3 of our best players, but we've replaced well. So I'm thinking A-.
Yeah, I think so. So it's probably we could come back to this in a year and we could put it A+, and it wouldn't really surprise me. But it's just a bit too early to tell with all the new signings. Maybe you could say 25 million on Doak. I'm not quite sure about that yet. That might have been a bit too much.
Well, apparently he played really well last night for Scotland. Yeah,
I did hear that. And he should be starting out wide for Scotland rather than Ryan Christie, which is just baffling to me. So that's fine. I do see the potential in Doak. It's just 25 million is a lot of money for quite an unproven player. But that's fine. Hopefully that will work out.
I'm not suggesting. I think in the right. You could argue that it's already an A+ window. If you concede that we had to let Howson and Kirkes and potentially Zabani leave.
I think it's important. It's important to note as well that in the interview with Sky Sports, Thiago Pinto did say we had to sell players because of PSR. So we did have to sell them.
The reason for that though is because we spent the last 2 years spending like mad, like we've never ever done before, and I mean even like our ticket revenue isn't high, like. But yeah,
I think that's another good point actually. This was finally the window that we got rid of dead wood permanently,
Yep.
like Rothwell, Mepham, Billing, Traore, Neto,
Even Neto,
Cine.
yeah.
They've all gone, and I think I tweeted at the start of the year that it was at the start of the window is one of my main concerns that we'd have another year where we just loaned out all this dead wood. But it was really encouraging that we sold them permanently, got them off the book. Some of them all right fees, as well.
Yeah.
So
Do you
yeah,
know what?
I like that.
You're right, because when I was reading out the outgoings just 5-10 minutes ago, and I got down to Travers and I went, oh, there's loads more to go. I'm not even going to name them, because in my head it was like, oh, they don't matter. They're just random transfers. But you're so right. They actually are really important. Just get them off the books, clear the squad out a bit, and big transfers. But I think it would be a bit premature to say this is an A+. So we'll put it in A-. But where would you put it compared
I
to the
think
other two?
all things considered, the way we're talking about it, it could be better than January 23, especially if you do factor in those outgoings, things like that. It might be. We could, again, on the other hand, we could look back on this in a year and go, God, that was a bit stupid. Some of these players haven't actually quite worked out. But I can see the positive of it being over January 23, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it sounds a bit mad to say our best window under Foley is letting go of Kirkes, House and Zabani, whatever. But no, it has been one of the most exciting windows so far. And yeah, I think that is a very good tier list. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. Everyone, make sure, that's cut my head off. Check out all of Greg's stuff. I'll put the links in the description so you can just go down, check them out. Especially check out the new TikTok and the website that he's been building up. And thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.